Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. Different day, but same content. It's actually an incredibly slow news week. So this is another one of those glorious filler episodes that we love so much. Somebody just typed in the chat, Freiburg, are you pegging me? I don't know why you've done that. That's unacceptable. Shout out to Super Chris 08.
And the answer is no, it was actually mainly nip players having things go in and out of their arses, whether they liked it or not. Metaphorically, of course.
Nice timestamp right at the start of the broadcast.
Metaphorically, of course. If I say it metaphorically enough, is that all right?
I don't even know, because satire isn't satire anymore.
Well, that's
mate.
true, actually. Yeah. Especially if not, it's about, definitely, Richard, never satirize important figures or, let's say like untouchable power, such as the government or news, because that's not what satire is for. Satire is just throwaway jokes. What is this?
Satire is about going after people that say mean things, not holding truth to power or anything like that. We know that now. Anyway. It's me, it's Dorian, it's Sam. We are going to talk about Counter-Strike at some point. First thing, before we do that, though, shout out to the sponsors. Someone in the chat said they've won 53. It's great. Free money.
53 what?
50. I know 53 what? Like,
it's like he
53 stem cells.
It's like he thought one step further than the initial lie and was like, got to make it believable, though. Who would make up 53?
Yeah, I know, 53.
I'd love to know what possible odds get you to a fucking odd number like 53. That seems weird. I'm just saying.
Don't spend it in one place either with your 53. You might want to save that up, roll that over.
You can probably buy like 1.5 Na'Vi jerseys for that. All I'm going to tell you is this, and this is all I'll say. First of all, when I went to an event last year, when you walk by those shops where it's like selling all the jerseys.
I can't do it.
All I'm going to say is two things. One, the Na'Vi jersey was twice as much as the VP jersey. And yet, even when Na'Vi at a later event weren't as good, their jersey was still super expensive. So I'm not making any sort of implication about the org or the people who run the org or their relationship with their fans. All I'm going to say is they love fucking money. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what I can't wait for, right? Because, you can tell when a team is like dog shit now, because like a football team, right? Because you see, this sounds terrible. We're probably going to timestamp this immediately. But their shirts get given to like homeless shelters.
Sure.
And obviously, I used to do a lot of voluntary work with the homeless, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, the year that Reading like dropped out the Premier League, it was just like, a flood of Reading shirts onto the market. People changing teams, people switching it up. When Glory supporting teams shift, suddenly there's lots of people wearing Chelsea shirts on the market. Sure. So I can't wait. Basically when esports is going to have arrived is when we see a flood of like Na'Vi jerseys.
Sure. Well, I actually did see something like that. Like at the last event I was at, I did see there was a guy. He looked like he was a bit down on his luck. He looked a bit sad in his face. He wasn't talking to anyone. He had this dirty beard and his fucking Na'Vi jersey. And I'm like, oh fucking hell, Na'Vi fans are on there, and they go, "That's Edward. What are you talking about?"
I saw the punchline coming.
I know.
Still
it was
good.
Obvious.
Still good.
Yes, wait one second. I'm just gonna get the water with me.
Oh yeah, you got to get the water. But you can tell it's a really fucking well prepared fucking shit. Like, just fuck the intro, Sam. Right? Like, can you do one of them voiceover intros? Yes, Scoots. This is Bruce Lee, but it's a doctored Bruce Lee.
Got
it's
headphones on, man.
I can't handle like the weird terminology.
It's Bruce Lee MC.
Bruce Lee was a doctor.
Yeah, it's Bruce Lee MC. It's an old drum and bass T-shirt from way back when. Anyway. Right. So look, before we get into talking about Counter-Strike, I got to do this because we haven't done it for ages, even though, I still see morons because unfortunately we work in esports. So, we have to accept that.
Is it time for the section that starts every show, having a morn?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's time for the section that we never do, because it's been so thick with news.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, every episode they spend 30 minutes just going on about what's happening on Twitter, like, it is a fucking hell. It just doesn't happen, but whatever. Like, I can't do any. Seriously, 10 years. We just need to reset everything. Like, they're going to invent a wonder drug that's just going to cure everyone's mental illness from social media. Until then, we just have to live in a world of fucking where things are not like things that are objectively false are just peddled as if they're true because everyone's so ill they can't see otherwise. So that's fine. I mean, I seem to be inoculated. I seem to have an immunity. That's fine. I can see things that are objectively real. 30% of the esports audience can't. You put a tweet out.
Put it this way. I'll give you a very simple example, Richard.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are on your side and on Rick Fox's side in that Echo Fox case, as far as I can tell, literally think the facts of the matter are someone just was racist to Rick Fox. That was never the facts of the matter. At no point was that ever stated. Rick Fox never said that. None of that. Like, these people somehow sort of know the story, yet don't know the most central core facts of the story. So that's just the generation we're living in, I'm afraid.
Well, no, but it's like when you'll put a tweet out, right? Like, as is, kind of something you have to do. So you put a tweet out and you'll go, we'll use Na'vi again. They're a go-to example for everything this episode. It's the Na'vi special, right? So you put a tweet out saying, I think, Na'vi are playing very well, and and they have a real chance of winning the next tournament. And the replies will be, "So you're saying Team Liquid is shit?" And you're like, "No, I'm objectively not saying that." Yeah, well, you implying it, like, in your fucking diseased brain. You fucking go to a doctor, get the medicine to fix you before you come back onto social media. You're not fit to be in this environment. And then somebody else will reply with going, "So you're saying Simple are carrying them?" No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the play. And it's just like they just make up what they want to complain about in their fucking brains, and then they just go with that. They go with the thing they imagined. So here's what I wanted to just start the show with, because it literally just happened before we came on. Right, we criticized the Counter-Strike community quite a bit, but it's done from a place of love. I think it's done from a place of love, because we know objectively that it's one of the better and more mature communities out there, because the game's like fucking 20 years old. The amount of people, like, because I do get fan mail as well as death threats. I'd probably say more fan mail if I'm being honest. And I'll get people like going, "I'm 43," and I'm like, "Listen, mate, I'm not that old." But yeah. Is it appropriate? Stop lying, Red Eye. I'm 43, and I just want to say I've been following you for like 10, 15 years. Thanks for all you do. You get something like that, right? So we have got a slightly older audience now. There are kids at the other end embarrassing themselves, running around and being dumb. But obviously, it's a game that has a pretty broad, diverse community, especially in terms of age. Now, the last 2 days, I've been doing my journalism thing, because I'm a glutton for punishment like that. And I've just got to show you, right? First of all, League of Legends is insane. Like, it remains like one of the most unbelievably it's not even the community's fault anymore. I feel like the community is like sort of grown up a little bit. But
their problem is they've got two massive limiting factors on them as a scene. They've got Riot itself, which will never allow certain things, and then beyond that, obviously Reddit itself literally gatekeeps what can be seen, said, and discussed. So as a result, like, it's hard to squeeze anything through that.
I was looking at the aftermath of the Rick Fox story today. Basically, so what the mods have now agreed is okay is my work cannot be published on the League of Legends subreddit. This is all like Kahuti's brainchild. He's like some demented Swedish guy. He's super butthurt that I pointed out because he wrote a 6,000-word manifesto about me. There's a type of person that writes manifestos. There's a type of person that publishes a manifesto. They're dangerous. Avoid them. If anyone ever says to you, "Hey, I've just wrote a 6,000-word manifesto," keep your distance, guys. Just saying. Anyway, so this is his brainchild. So you cannot publish my work, obviously. But now if you're a journalist and you reference my work, as in credit the source, you also can't be published on the subreddit. You cannot say my name in relation to any story.
By the way, that's my favorite.
You are allowed to plagiarize my work.
The reason why that one's my favorite
encouraged.
is because that one shows how far gone some of those mods are. Because even though sites exist that they have no control over, where you can prove that they are removing comments that have your name in it, because they control the main sub, and most people will never see those things, they literally maintain it has never happened, and it is literally fiction. You can factually prove they're lying.
Yeah, of course. And look, I'll do it. Sam, check this out, right? I want you to scroll through while I talk about this. I have to say I'm obviously a very powerful like psychic or something, because I've driven these guys fucking nuts. I mean, they're insane at this point. They objectively lie about things I've done. they're out there objectively lying about, you mean dogs deceased and all this stuff. Like, it's just fucking nonsense. Never produce any evidence for it because they can't. They just write 6,000 word manifestos to try and convince people who are increasingly seeing through their nonsense. This is a site called Remove Edit. So it's like Reddit, but with the word move in it. And just scroll through if you aren't already, Sam. All of the red comments are comments that were deleted by moderators. And just look how many. It's just people going, oh, good interview by Richard Lewis. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. You can't even call me Voldemort. You can't call me Voldemort.
You can't even say a name that is not your name.
No, you cannot even say
that
Voldemort.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
because the League of Legends Reddit came up with nicknames for me. So one of them was Voldemort. You can't even say names that aren't my name. So
Ricardo
somebody
Louise,
there, you can't call me Ricardo
Louise.
Yeah, you can't say Ricardo Louise. Which was my Hispanic identity. You can't say Voldemort. You can't call me Lord Sauron. You can't call me Lord Sauron. You are deleted and banned for calling me Lord Sauron. Just keep scrolling through. This is Kahootie,
Ricardo
the head
Lewis
mod,
show.
Reagan Drake, this other nutcase who's over
Dick
there.
Lewis.
The Dark Lord Richard Lewis, and all the people who are going, this is getting ridiculous now. Deleted, banned. What this is a good one. What the fuck happened here? Like, it's a comments graveyard. They've deleted about 200 comments, and it says like the podcast it's on is a guy called Voldemort. Removed, gone. Someone said, "Wow, it's a great."
Even though, by the way, if someone was to Google podcast Voldemort, they'd never find that interview.
I know. A podcast with Voldemort and Rick Fox together at last.
Yeah.
Together at last. Anyway, like people praising me, saying it's good that we've got Richard Lewis to do investigative pieces. Mods saying people saying the mods are pathetic and petty. Just look how many comments they've removed. Just look how many comments they've removed, and all for saying nothing. And it's and if you mention me on that subreddit, you get banned. So again, the two big people pushing this, like Reagan Drake, Kahootie, these are the guys that are basically like running this based on absolute lies. Reddit sign off on this, by the way. I don't even think the person who revealed the Panama Papers had to deal with this shit. Like, it's absolute, or WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks got removed from Reddit for a time on the grounds that, and Facebook on the grounds that they can't be trusted. Wink, wink. They're saying things about the DNC, so they can't be trusted. So anyway, so there's that. So again, the CSGO mods have done some wacky shit because all mods have a mental illness themselves. I've always wanted to write an article about it called the mod spectrum. It is like a sort of learning impairment.
It's because the obvious question is who the fuck would want to be a VOD,
Yeah.
You get weird people as a result. Makes sense.
So there's that. But I mean, like, the CSGO moderators did do some crazy shit. Like, they had one add me on Steam and then would have private conversations with me, which they would then screenshot and upload to Slack. And they would use that to inform their decisions about whether By the Numbers could stay up on the front page and stuff like this. So, they're all diseased. Like, they're all fucked in the feed. So I can't believe Sam's still scrolling and finding deleted comments. Like, have you ever seen anything like this? Even in 2014, 2015, at the height of the ass painery, it wasn't this bad. But then it's like, okay, well, they're just the mods, and mods have problems. Wow, the fucking Overwatch community is so fucked. Like,
love them.
Oh, mate, competitive Overwatch is just fucking hilarious. Every time I publish a story about Overwatch, I see the same names flood into the thread to make the same denials. There's some absolute belters in today. I just put out a story. Now, get this, right? Why would you want to deny that this is like a bad sign? So there's this thing on Twitch called the Bounty Board. And it's where you can make extra money by doing advertising, by showing videos and playing games. And it's like targeted advertising for your audience. So a Fortnite streamer, I don't think you're supposed to talk about the Bounty Board if you're in the program. So I don't know what happened to this guy. But he said, oh, look, Activision Blizzard paying streamers to do raids, right, onto the Overwatch League broadcast. Now, if you don't know what a raid is, because you're not a streamer, you're just a viewer, A raid is where at the end of a stream, you literally transport your audience to another channel.
It's like hosting, but you send all your viewers there. Basically.
Yeah, so they can interact in their in that chat, and it obviously gives a viewership spike. Now that is an artificially created viewership spike when you do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, obviously, if I'm a big streamer and I've got 20,000 people watching me, and at the end of my broadcast, I send 20,000 to the Overwatch League, when the Overwatch League shows its peak viewership numbers that for that day, it's inflated by 20K. But it's not 20K actual viewers. It's not people who wanted to tune in. And generally what you'll see is people will probably dissipate, because if they wanted to be watching the Overwatch League, why would they be watching the streamer? And some of the streamers that have done it, like, you know, I go on the Raj Royale podcast now sometimes. Raj Royale's not even about esports, but he's a big podcast. He gets about 30,000 people watching him. So anyway, so I just did a story about this because there's some other stuff going on as well, where they're like reaching out to partners to like try and sell tickets for the homestand season. It's all being talked about behind the scenes. Some of these comments, dude, it is fucking insane, and it's the same names. Like, there's this guy called AP Rengar, who is like name should reveal.
Already sounds like he comes from League, so he's
he does. He used to stalk me 5 years ago, so he's still ass-paying about me like calling him stupid from 5 years ago. And some of the claims he makes is like, so I'm a paid shill. I get paid to say the league's going to fail.
By who?
I make money on that. It doesn't explain that
that's
part.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. There's a guy called Alpha Trion _OW. By the way, I wish there was a bot on Twitter that would just block anyone with OW in their name. That would like make my life so much better. I would. So he this is the best comment in the whole thread now. He's outdone himself. But these people are in every thread for every story. Another guy called Hobo Tripping. Like,
by the way, another thing as well, a classic sign that these people are really ill is it'd be one thing if they just hated you and each time they saw you mention, they mention what they say. No, I've noticed they always take an approach where nothing about their comments suggests they even necessarily follow all your work or know you. Like, what they try to do is pretend to be like a new person every time. Like, I can't believe this guy said it. It's like, mate, when I tag you, I can see it's the same guy every time.
Yeah,
like, you're not a new person. Like, this is a ridiculous approach you're taking.
Check this out, right? So Alpha Trion's comment here. Richard Lewis is using the age-old trick, right? It's all about trickery, not about honest reporting. Richard Lewis is using the age-old trick of predicting something and then repeating it periodically until one day, very, very soon, it will actually happen. His audience only has to wait.
In the future? What's he talking about? That's mental. I know.
That's what I do. I wake up, I have a ball of DMT, and I just
predict. Tank.
No, I'm on Spice. I'm on that fucking Spice from not the Spice from Liverpool. I'm talking about the Spice
synthetic weed.
I'm talking about June. I'm talking about the Frank Herbert novel June.
Oh,
I take some Spice, right, and I fucking just go into the future and I just predict it, and then but it gets better, right? He says, until one day, very, very soon, it will actually happen. His audience only has to wait just a little bit longer. Subscribe to his platform. I've never put that in any of my reporting at all. And then he will be hailed as a wise man for being right all along. And his readers will have been right all along too. And they will feel really wise. Cults start this way.
Oh,
so he's dropped the cult. He's dropped the cult.
In no way is that how.
I know. I
know.
Right? No, listen. I've decided, guys. I'm going in a new direction.
The first 15 years was all a setup. He first had to establish himself, win awards, and in the end, he goes, right, now my life's goal and work was to start a cult with Overwatch fans, who even I'm saying there barely are any.
No, listen. It's time. It's time to just come clean. By the numbers, all of this. You're in a cult, guys. You didn't know.
The Kool-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're doing it. What's going to happen is you just keep watching the show. We're going to get beamed up to the mothership, right? Don't worry. The alien's going to take us far, far away from the Trumpian world in which we live. And it's all going to be all right, guys. It's going to be fine.
To a planet with no orange men whatsoever.
There will be no orange men. There will be no... Well, actually, ironically, all of the aliens are all orange.
Oh, damn it.
Because they're beings of pure light. But because of that, it's actually orange men good. So it's all fine. It's all fine, guys. So we're going to ascend. We're going to ascend and be one with the orange people. So just stay here. It's all good. Keep your robes clean, because when the mothership comes, we are going to check for cleanliness and everything else. And yeah, we're going to be fine. What a
And by the way, since the mothership's coming next week, you may as well fuck a bit before then, right?
Oh yeah, we may as well. I agree. While
mainly all the fit women, like
just to prepare for the ascension, you might want to Google the term daisy chaining.
There we go. And
just prepare.
All the network technologists out there, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not when you take cables. Although, actually, anyway.
More ropes, I'd say,
So anyway, look, guys, I tell you all the time when we do this show, like, people don't know what it's like to work in esports and have any sort of like notoriety whatsoever. The level of derangement.
Put it this way, one thing esports has taught me
is crazy.
One of the principles that esports has taught me is there's a piece of common sense that you'll have heard. Everyone listening to this chat now, assuming they come from an English language country, will have heard this piece of common sense, and they probably think it has some logic to it. Ironic, because that is the whole point of the common sense. It goes like this: no smoke without fire. Now, I can tell you, after living on the internet for this many years, you will 100% get utterly mentally ill people where there was no fire whatsoever, and they just constantly create the smoke. And they claim, well, why would you say that, though? You did say this once. I never did. Can you show me where I said it? I won't do your research for you. Like, I can't win. Can I?
The dry ice of the internet, creating smoke without fire.
Yeah, man, it's honestly insane. It's honestly insane. So it's days like that make me think, you know what? The CSGO community,
it ain't as bad,
bad.
Is it? In context.
But then I go and read that Babam thread from 3 years ago, and I fucking hate you all again. And that's where I need to be, like Al Pacino in Heat.
And anyway,
that's where I gotta be.
This is
on
where
the edge.
This is where the show trial begins. The following of you subscribers were in that thread. You will be punished summarily and banished.
Exactly. Oh, wait till the mothership gets here. We won't be laughing there. I can't wait to.
Problem is, as soon as that fucking little ramp comes out, Babam's going to come out. His people are going to come collect him, aren't they?
Imagine that. You get up there, you think it's going to be great. Beings of pure energy, and they all talk like Babam. That'd be the smell of GG everywhere.
Mate, people don't know this.
Get me out.
Because Babam came around.
Even Paradise sucks.
Because he came around in the last years of 1.6. It's not even like it's in the modern day. Like, listen, Babam now almost makes sense. He's almost not an anachronism now, because like there are streamers like who do personalities and funny aspects and just are entertainers. Back in the days when he first started streaming, I remember everyone, I'm not joking, everyone on HLTV.org was saying like he's the most hilarious guy ever. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. There's a lot of dry casters out there. I'll give this a go. And I remember just like 1 minute in thinking, like, is this a troll or something? Is this actually arranged? And you're all just pretend like you're all in on the joke and I'm not. Like, this can't be real, is it? And I remember, this is all I need to say. I just remember doing a tweet that was just something like, who the fuck would listen to this guy? And Markelov from Navi was like, what you talk about? He has good casters. Like, get me out. I'm out. You can have Counter-Strike. I'm out.
Right. So should we talk about Counter-Strike now? Do you want to?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Should we start with the miners?
The thing is, though, Rich, I will say, you did start with that thing like, and everyone keeps saying, the first part of the episode is just me talking about that. Now pull up this League of Legends thread, Sam, and then there's Overwatch thread.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'll talk about what's on my mind.
No,
That's what the podcast always was.
Ridiculous, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah. Fuck them. Right. So we had the Asia minor. Now I gotta say, while we talk about fucking quality, I mean, fucking hell. Like I thought the NA one was bad, but some of the teams in this were really bad. With the problems that Tai Lu have had as well, there was a prediction I made, like, I don't know, however many episodes ago it was, where I was talking about how it should be really hard for the Australian teams to sort of sneak through the Asian qualifier now, because China's finally going to get its shit together. You got MVP PK, who are like, vaguely competitive occasionally. But instead, because Tai Lu's gone to absolute fucking shit in the super team that never was, the Asian super team that never was, it's sort of enabled Greyhound to kind of get through again. So we're going to be treated to more antics from everyone's fucking favorite semi-pro. in the form of Dick Stacey. I saw an interview clip where it was like, because Malta had a good game, because it was still a pretty close series. There was like a 16-14 and an overtime in there in the game. Like Smix interviewed the team, and of course Dick Stacey, being Dick Stacey, has to all be about him. Like, he's just a cunt at a fucking house party who was like, everyone else is just sort of like drinking and talking, listening to music, and he comes in a fucking toga, water bombing everyone. And he's like, oh, this obnoxious.
It reminds me of
cunt,
like a fucking Beavis and Butthead character, but without the irony.
Yeah, exactly. So they did this interview, and it was like, so, Malta played well. He's like, yeah, fucking hell. I'm not, you can't even do an Australian accent. Fucking hell, eh?
East End of London.
Yeah, I know, innit? Yeah, go bring
Could you
governor.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, would you fucking get up them apples and pears, you fucking cunt. Anyway, he said, yeah, I'm going to suck his dick. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake. And of course, it gets clipped and it goes to Reddit, and all the little gremlins are in the Reddit thread. Go, he's so funny and authentic. I'm not an attention seeker. This is brilliant. Like, oh, fuck me. I can't do it. This game. All right, it's fine. It's fine. This business. But anyway, Greyhound did win it. Unsurprisingly, Dick Stacey's teammates carrying him through, as is par for the course. One day he's going to get a positive score in a game that matters. And
that's the best thing
about
as well. Is that because he's just created an entire brand which supersedes his team, they can now also never kick this motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
He just is the team, isn't he? So, great. I'm sure that's a great work environment.
Brilliant. But anyway, so they beat Tai Lu. It was a super close game. But honestly, overall, all joking aside, when you look at this fucking lineup, it probably should be Greyhound and Tai Lu that made it through the Asian minor. You've got teams like, the South African team, Energy. You've got, I think, a Thai team called Alpha Red. You've got 5 Power in there, who are like pretty poor. Avant, the other Australian team. So really, you'd probably say Greyhound and Tai Lu are probably the top 2 teams in the Asian minor. And I don't know how I feel about it, because I've said in the past, I really want the major to be global, so we attract that global audience, and it's a global celebration of Counter-Strike and everything else. But the standard of these minors, at a time when we have a really interesting top 20, the standard of these minors are appalling.
Put it this way: the major, just look at the teams, will have a worse lineup of teams than ESL1 Cologne. Yeah. Because of this system. It actually reminds me of what I hate about the League of Legends World Championship, which is that they also want all regions to be represented, all global. And so that means if there are areas that are just shit, you just put bad teams in the tournament, and the odds that they'll win any games are very, very low. So even though I like the sentiment, it's like one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter if the idea is great, if in practice it's terrible.
Yeah. And listen, the counterpoint to that is if you think about it as a world championship, in the same way, it'd be like saying, well, the World Cup isn't the top 20, top 32 football teams. But
I thought we had that solved, though, because in our old system where week 1 was just the major qualifier, then if they made it through, it was always legit. You couldn't complain then. Yeah. So to me, I liked the idea that they could still be eliminated. If they were crap, they would just get eliminated immediately then, and they wouldn't even be in the tournament. But for them to go to a major out of like a minor like this, I do still kind of think that's bullshit, to be fair.
Yeah. So, not really a lot to say about the Asian minor there. So, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, there was the CIS minor too, right? Forza and Simon were the 2 teams that topped that out. Very weird situation, because I think Forza have definitely shown some promise. I think as a team, I think Forza are, certainly one of the better teams in that region outside of the top ones that we know. That they're competitive in sort of the same way that the old Valiance lineup now crazy sort of is. They have that kind of upset potential because of their play style. The thing that I thought was particularly interesting is we've now got Simon coming through and going to that first week of the major. Obviously, a lot of negative headlines surrounding those guys. And those guys are the ones that have had very strange betting patterns in their game, very strange, hard to read results, and there's a lot of people questioning the sort of fairness of them even being at a major to begin with. All I can say to that is I've had loads of people hitting me up about that. And listen, until somebody sits down and does an actual investigation and gets actual proof, and spoiler, it won't be me. Not this time. Has to be someone else.
Not least because, like, you have to understand, boys, if you play Russian roulette once and survive, you don't just go, well, 5 more to go. It's like, you just do the once, don't you? You go, that's it. Someone else has to have a go now. Can't be me.
Well, it's not just that. It's the reality of, like, you know, I still see fucking lunatics coming at me for ruining the entire NA scene. I'd love to know how I've done that, because you've now got the best team in the world. It's not even close. Sure. But I apparently ruined NA by getting iBuyPower banned. And it's like people are still talking about that 4 years later.
Speaking of which, some brand new news that only came out, I think yesterday in League of Legends, was that Riot Games is partnering with Sports Radar to monitor betting patterns around the world to make sure nothing's going on. Now, when I saw that, first thing I thought was bullshit. They are. Absolute bullshit. That 100% they will not be doing that. And if they do, they will not be reporting the results, because, again, all I'm going to tell you is this: go and look who owns Riot Games. That will never happen. That is an absolute smokescreen.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly what's going on there. You know,
I mean, it's a clever thing to sell the sponsors in the West and tell them, look, we got someone who's tracking it all. We'll take care of that, you know.
Yeah, but that's exactly why they do it now. You see, what they realized, I've talked about this with ESIC members, and they're aware of it. Basically, rather than try and fix the problem of match fixing, rather than actually get rid of it, stamp it out, monitor it, you can just enter into programs where you're like, listen, if anything really badly goes on, you'll tell us about it, but we don't have to monitor it. We don't have to. So we can just tell everyone we are. And that even might have a deterrent effect. So, so we win, right? We've cracked the problem. What they're actually doing there is, it's like, they get to cancel the occasional game and say, oh, betting patterns were a little bit strange for that one. But basically, it like you say, it's a smokescreen. It's to be able to say there's no match fixing in League now. None.
I'll just say, by the way, one of the big problems along those lines, and by the way, I'll even include Valve in this, because if you saw how much evidence Valve required for the iBuyPower thing, personally, I think that alone is a disgrace. Just being able to check the betting patterns without any of that shit on the phone should have been game over if they really wanted to ban iBuyPower. So to me, that's the problem I have with game devs when you come to pro-level players, is their mentality isn't, did he do something wrong? Ban him. It's, can you really 100% nail him down that he definitely did something really bad that I have to ban him? That's almost like the mentality instead, which is like, that shouldn't be it. Like, and listen, I know there's definitely sports that are really corrupt like that. But one thing I actually respect about stuff, for example, like the UFC, is because they don't control the people who do the drug tests. If you fail the drug test, you can be the fucking world champion. You get banned, mate. Yeah. You're out for a few years. Say goodbye to your money. They actually go the other way on that one. So fair play to them. Whereas in esports, I just get the feeling it's going to be many years before this shit's legit.
Yeah, and I don't really know too much about what the long-term plans are. I think there has to be a very robust set of checks, because I understand privacy is something to be valued, treasured. I don't like it when big corporations kind of erode it. I don't like it when people say, like the community say ridiculous things like, give me a superior version of Valve anti-cheat that completely rips all of my personal data from my computer just so I can play matchmaking without cheaters in it. Spoiler, it wouldn't stop cheaters. But so, I think there should be something in place, though, where if you're involved in Counter-Strike, I want to know what types of bets you're putting down. I want to know if you're putting any bets at all, honestly. I have been told many stories from people who work at betting companies off the record, and they say, listen, I cannot, legally, I cannot give you the proof, but this guy is placing bets on his own games, on his team's games, managers, players. When we got rid of the skins betting sites, in the cash betting sites moved in. That was actually worse in a way, because sure, they have this, they have the legal protections, but they also have this, extra layer of obfuscation. Back when it was like fucking skins. You could just look. Oh yeah, look, that player placed a bet on his own match on that date. You could just go get it. Now you can't do that, and people are placing bets. And I think that there needs to be an investigation. Maybe ESIC can get the requisite permissions, and I think anybody who's placed bets on their own matches need to be banned for a period of time. And I think anybody who has placed bets on fellow professional matches needs a lesser ban for a period of time. Because I just don't think you should be placing bets on your own games while you're competitive. It's something you have to sacrifice. When you're a football player or anything else, it's something you have to sacrifice for the discipline. And yeah, retroactively, I'm talking about, of course. I think you have to go. I think one of the big problems we had we
didn't clean house.
Yeah, we didn't clean house.
What they should have done was when they banned Die by Power, they should have then followed up on all of the things we've many times alluded to that were going on in the European and NA scenes, and they should have just banned everyone and said, that's it. That was no amnesties, you're out. But from now on, just don't do it, everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I say, it would have been rough. Sure. Would have really heavily impacted on the European scene. But if
I'd take that though, mate. I've always said this: when it comes to cheating, when it comes to in any way ruining the integrity of the game, I'd rather rip out the roots and then have to start at a weaker spot than leave those cunts in there and just go, well, you get away with it because I can only prove this guy did. No, fuck that.
Yeah, and it's like I say, what we're talking about here is people placing bets on their own matches. Some players will place bets on themselves to win. People will go, well, what's the harm in that? It's still banned in every professional sport. People, because again, it's a way to supplement income through using your insider knowledge. Some people place bets on themselves to lose. I've seen managers go out and owners go out and talk openly because they don't think it's bad. They place bets on their team to lose. Like I've literally, famously, I had one owner tell me, I can't lose today because if the team wins, I'm happy. But if they lose, I've got a big bet on the underdogs. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, why are you telling me that?
I know.
You know who I am,
what a
right?
Weird thing to brag about.
Yeah, exactly. You do know who I am, right? You know what I do. So really weird, and then
they go anyway, Anders. Don't tell that Richard Lewis.
Yeah, I know. Whatever you do, yeah, whatever you do, Anders. I'm your biggest fan. So yeah, really fucking really weird. And listen, I agree. I think there's a lot of smoke screens in place. I still think it's the final fig leaf. I don't think match fixing is going on in the top tier of Counter-Strike anymore. But in the second tier and the third tier, it's worryingly rife. And it's not going to get fixed if people aren't interested in fixing it. So definitely something to think about. Anyway, then we had the play-in minor, which was the interesting one, which basically was like the last chance saloon. This was made up of just 4 teams, which were the teams that finished third in the respective regional minors. So it was North, it was Dream Eaters, it was Ints, and it was MVP PK. So this was an interesting one. Obviously North were clear favorites for me going in, and that bore itself out because they did get there and make qualify overall. But I honestly thought, depending on how the draw went, this really could have gone either way. Like North getting MVP PK was a bit of a layup. I really felt sorry for the Koreans. I saw some of the players tweeting, saying, "Oh, it's just not good enough." It's like, you did lose to one of the top teams in the world, guys. Like, don't beat yourselves up about that. But Ints and Dream Eaters was a pretty close game. It was a 3-mapper, and in the end, Ints didn't make it, and Dream Eaters did, which I might have probably lent towards the Brazilians ever so slightly on that one. So we get North and Dream Eaters to basically round out the teams.
And INTZ do go through, though. They get the third spot.
Oh, yeah, sorry, they actually do.
Because I remember Cloud9's spot got taken from the major, I believe. So
yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, so they do go through. So ultimately, it was only the Koreans that really suffered kind of coming out of it. Just some thoughts about North, obviously getting in there. We've talked a lot about North and kind of where they're headed as a team. I think they're an interesting one. We talked a little bit on the last episode, I think it was, where we talked about Kiebi and how he needed to step up and really start being a star. I'm not going to count his performance against MVP PK because I don't think you need a star performance to beat them, and this is very much typically where Kiebi will tee off. But again, it was the same story. You had Valde, I think, like top fragging in one of the maps, and then second fragging in the other one. You've got Gade in there, who I think is developing very nicely, and sort of Kiebi and AZ were just on cruise control, and Yugi was just really far behind the level of a top tier AWPer. So kind of business as usual. It was just never going to cost them against MVP PK. The question is, can this North get their shit together, now that they're going to be playing with the big boys over at the major and be a surprise team? Because I think some people feel that. I see a lot of people now saying that North have like turned the corner from the dark old days, and I don't see the flare as much where, the North with the wheelchair for the O, people aren't using that as much anymore. That's a sign.
I love living in a world, by the way. This is one of the reasons, Richard, why I will always get in trouble on the internet. I can't fathom a world in which some of the incredibly tame things I've said about players are considered like totally unacceptable. Like, how dare you? And that is a meme, not only massive among the community, but allowed by the mods.
Yeah.
There's literally a rule that says like you cannot discriminate against people. You're not even supposed to, in theory, just insult people. That people have been punished for that before. So the idea that the joke is that they're disabled because they're bad. It's like, listen, I get the metaphor is not real, but this isn't the world we live in. Like, no one else is using those rules for every other fucking joke. It's wild,
there's no standards. It's just what blows up on what day at what time.
And then the same cunts are telling me, like, that's why you've got to stay within the lines. There are no lines, you daft cunt. What are you talking about? There are no
lines. I know. That's why you've got to sign up to this cult. We recognize there's no lines.
We got lots of lines.
Yeah, exactly. The only lines in this cult are the ones that go up your hooter.
Robbie Fowler knows all about these lines.
Robbie Fowler's actually a high priest in this cult. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on North and their chances now that they're going to be in the major? I'm kind of ambivalent. It's like I want them to succeed because of Valde. I still just think that Kiebi is never going to get back to where he was when he was the major MVP. And I think Yugi is honestly just a real big weakness for them. I don't know what happened since he left Heroic, and I don't think you can sort of carry that amount of dead weight and do well at a major.
I feel like they're at least one piece from being good. Like at the moment, they're not bad. Certainly not bad. Like they actually, with relative consistency, can play a good game against even the top teams, but they don't win many of those games. And so as a result, for me, the problem I have with them as a team is they're not a team I would pick to go deep. Like I can't have that sort of faith. I certainly think they're capable of a nice upset. And there's plenty of teams between, let's say, positions 3 and fucking 12 that should be watching their ass when they're playing them. But even so, I would still pick most of those teams to win the game. Because the problem is, the lineup itself just has clear, massive flaws in it. And at the moment, there's no real clear solutions. So in the context of doing what you can, I think Valde's doing a pretty good job, but still not really good enough. Like when I look at this lineup, I still look at it and think they should be better than this, shouldn't?
So we've got the 16 teams that are going to be in the new challenges stage. I'll list them for you. We got Vitality, we got G2, we got Complexity, we've got a Vanguard, we got Hellraisers, we've got NRG, we've got Mouse Sports, Furia, Crazy, Greyhound, Forza, Tyloo, Simon, Dream Eaters, North, and Ints. So, I mean, immediately you can see
there's a lot of shit in there.
Yeah, there's a pretty big fucking drop off.
I know.
When you got the Vitalities, the Furias, the NRGs, the Mouse Sports, the G2s, and North.
The also runs.
Yeah, it's pretty much I don't know if it's just because it's like recency bias. That feels really bad. That feels like a weak field.
It's underwhelming, put it that way. Like, let me think. The question is like, who's missing? Obviously, so who are we missing? Actually, let me think. Oh, well, there's no Fnatic, obviously, because they bombed the minor. So Fnatic, obviously, you would pick over most of those teams. Heroic isn't there. There's another one.
Yeah, they would definitely add something to that field for sure.
No Optic, because obviously that team was in a bad spot. No Cloud9, because they had to disband the roster. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are taking over them, mate.
Yeah. And
in an ideal world.
Sure, and that's obviously...
Even Dream Eater's getting there. Like, mate, Team Spirit at least showed me something every now and then. I was surprised they didn't get out of that fucking CIS minor. But who the fuck is Dream Eaters?
Like, I'll say this. It's definitely an opportunity to see some players that you might not be familiar with. I mean, the Hellraisers lineup is fucking crazy because you know what Hellraisers have just been doing. They've just been going through some fucking unreal transformation. When you consider where they were, like, I don't even know how far back you have to go when they were like getting upsets and Issa was popping off and everything else. You know, like, I feel that that's a team that really should surprise people. I honestly do, but I just don't know where they're at because I feel like I haven't seen them at a LAN for so long. But, you know, they've got Oscar on the books now. He's liable to fucking pop off against some of these shit teams and smash some heads in. I think Issa can do the same. I always thought that Nuki player, the Lithuanian who was on that Valiance team at some point, the Imperial, I always thought he was like pretty underrated. I thought he was decent. He's like the guy that's leveling them out. I thought Lowell got completely fucked in the Mouse Sports equation. Like when Mouse Sports went and did that shuffle, I thought Lowell was a good find. I thought Lowell was a good player. You remember how well he did for the first 3 months when he came in, and then it just, his form did plateau a little bit, but then he just disappeared. He just fell off a cliff. In fact, you know, there's a lot of similarities between him and what happened to Mixwell. It's not that these players did anything wrong. It was like they just got fucking crushed, you know, in the shuffle. And then because of the fact they were Spanish, you know, you've got to, you stay with your domestic scene, and it's bad, and you don't get to international events because there's no sponsorships there, or you have to try and find an international team that wants to take on a Spanish player. Well, not many of them do. So, you know, I look at that lineup and I think, you know what? You put them up against a Dream Eaters, a Simon, an Ints, you know, something like that. I think they should come out on top. So it's not unthinkable Hellraisers could sort of be the surprise team from all of those guys.
I mean, like you say, they have quality in the lineup at least, and
Angel
can just go off.
Yeah, and Angel obviously is the, you know, in-game leader. Again, the blood pact he's got with Hellraisers, where he's never allowed to leave. You know, I kind of feel that the CIS scene would have really benefited from him coming back there and taking some of this disparate talent from all of the different teams, because the CIS region should have been the next region to produce like another top team, maybe two top teams. But what we've seen in the shuffles is really weird. Like, you know, with Boomich going to Na'Vi and you know, Vanguard haven't really landed since they've brought in Adren for me. Buster and Quicket are still doing the jobs. James still baiting everyone and saving every round. Not as explosive as he once was. I would have liked to have seen Angel go back and just get some of these players and try and build a team back in the CIS region, but instead he's stuck with, again, all of the leftovers at Hellraisers. So, you know, yeah, there is like, also the other thing that's got to be said is because there's a lot of shit there, a lot of like, you know, unknown lesser teams outside the top 20. Someone's gonna get a miracle run and end up in the fucking major for real. Like, you're gonna see a Quantum Bellator fire again. Sure. You know, you are gonna see a team like that. I don't know who it would be, but you are going to see another team that no one's heard of, know nothing about. Maybe even go all the way to the legend stage.
Like, one of the toughest things about this as well is if you only have one or two unknown teams, well, even the odds that they go off isn't very much. If you have like 6 or 7 teams that other teams are just like, I don't really know those teams. I barely ever played them. I might have never played them. I might have never watched them play. First of all, you're not going to study for 6 or 7 of those teams. You're just going to take your chances. Whoever you get to play against, you're going to watch like 2 demos. You're going to go, right, here's what we'll do. And then you're going to hope. And if you get unlucky and you run into some buzzsaw and some guy you've never played before ever just goes off, unlucky for you, that's one life gone. So I would agree. In a weird way, this is quite a dangerous field for some of the known teams, not least because you have everything to lose. You look like an idiot if you lose to that team. They just get to be fucking heroes, whether they win or lose.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what, though? I still am looking forward to the major coming around, even though, I always do. Even though I think the first week especially is going to be particularly underwhelming. But
as long as the major's good, I'll always be into it, mate. Like I always say, the gods must have just been fucking smiling on me last year, where after all the shit we're facing, they then gave them the shittest playoffs to ever be seen ever in a major ever. Like that didn't have to happen. It could have just been great games, and at the end we'd have had to still say, well, putting all the bullshit aside, great major, wasn't it? Great games, amazing finals. Like that could have happened.
Yeah.
Not to those nice guys. Actually, I don't face it that much now, whatever. It's a retroactive burn on when I used to think they were guns. So. And one day again.
Wait, what? You've made up with Face It? When did that happen?
When I went to that esports awards, they like came up to me and they were telling us all, like they were doing the classic one. I was like, oh, I think things, miscommunication. I was like, yeah, miscommunication in it. Yeah, come here, lads. And then we're all mates now. There's a picture on Instagram and everything, proof.
Yeah,
pictures can't lie. We all know that, Richard.
Yeah, that is true.
That's ironclad proof, isn't it? So
yeah, you are right. It was like Weekend at Bernie's. They were all dead. But,
yeah.
Sick reference, right? No, I mean, like they did the same with me. Actually, they reached out. I'm just like, I don't know, dude. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I used to be a guy that was very into the idea of fucking burying hatchets and stuff. Now I'm just like, you know what? Like, y'all putting the fucking hatchet into my skull. Like, what? I mean, now you want me to pluck it out and fucking bury it so we can all fucking go smoke a peace pipe. I'm so done with it. I get attacked professionally on a daily basis, and all I'm ever trying to do is just keep the fucking scene honest and make it better. That's it. That's all I want to do. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be my best mate. You can be somebody I absolutely despise. If you do something good for the scene, I'll acknowledge it. If you do something bad for the scene, I'll call you out.
Sure.
Because this is my thing.
The distinction for me, though, is like where I draw the line is if you try to actively hurt my career. If you actually try to like misrepresent me, lie about me, actively go and tell people not to hire me, that's when I draw the line, and you'll probably never come back over that line. Like if you ever go over that line, you're done forever. But
yeah.
In case of Face It, I would say that's one thing I would say they didn't do whatsoever, actually. They didn't like the fact that we were wrecking them, and they tried to deny some of the things, but they didn't particularly attack me or say I was lying much.
Yeah, the thing that really pissed me off and still pisses me off to this day is like the weird, vague implication that they were like going to take legal action.
Right.
When people fucking say like, we're watching everything you say very carefully. Fucking look at it all day, you silly cunts. Come at me, get a lawsuit. I've had some of the wealthiest people in the world send goons to fucking brace me in a press room at an esports event. Do you think I am intimidated by your defamation lawsuit threats? Like, nah, I'm not the one. So that fucking just puts my fucking nose out of joint when they do that. And when the Face It guys, friends, they didn't come to me and say, hey, could we come on the podcast and present our side of things? And I'd have gone, that'd be brilliant. Let's do a Face It major special with Michele, maybe James Bardolph, whoever. And we talk out the problems. That would have been great content. That would have helped the community understand some of the problems. Would have helped them. Would have helped me. Everyone would have benefited. The classic a rising tide raises all ships situation. Instead, they tried they tried to intimate that what I was doing was wrong by criticizing him on a podcast, and they were going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb for undisclosed reasons. Wink, wink. Definitely not lawyers. Wink, wink. That is like when you take former friends and allies and people who've always given you a fair shake and you try and intimidate them. I can't. Again, I don't know if it ties into my brain just having a natural like tick every time there's censorship or something going on.
I'll also say
that really pissed me off.
That's another thing that does make it worse for me, I will say, is it's one thing if some company I don't know is trying to battle me. Fair enough. They don't know me. Maybe they have reasons not to. Maybe they don't even know my MO and they're just thinking I'm another pleb they can just dismiss. But yeah, if it's companies like Faceit, DreamHack, companies where I literally considered some of those people friendly acquaintances, I've worked with them, helped them out many, many times. If those companies then treat me like a cunt, yeah, that one's a bit tougher. Like you have to basically apologize, like I'm saying, intimating some people did. Otherwise, there's no way back on that one, because that's one of those things I also hate about the current esports crowd. Is there a bunch of cunts who are so late to the party? They're like the kids who go, "Ooh, do you think that girl likes that guy?" And it's like they've been married for 5 years, you dumb cunt. You don't even know the fucking story you're talking about. That's what they're like in this industry, though. Yeah. Like I have people telling me that, like to this day, people repeat that. Pros hate me, and you know what the first reference they always go to is?
What's that?
Get Right when he was at that DreamHack. Of all the players you could pick that definitely hate me, you've picked the wrong one, motherfucker. All I'll tell you is this: he privately apologized for that.
Well, I mean,
and I don't think he'd even mind me saying that in that scenario. Like the whole thing is, that was just about a moment when his team was in a bad spot, he was in a bad mood. Someone asked him a question he thought was a stupid question. He lashed out. By the way, I've even said, fair enough, if players want to do that, I'll take it on the chin. But the idea that, like, cause you guys don't know this cunt except when he was in a Nip jersey, I'm not friends with someone I've literally known for, at this point in time, 10 years.
Yeah, like,
Cheers.
I get that a lot as well. Like when people don't understand the contextual.
My favorite ever was when Nip forced Freiburg to make that weird tweet implying you lied. When I'm going to go ahead and say because I wasn't involved, so I can speculate.
Yeah,
I'm going to speculate Freiburg was one of the sources in the motherfucking story. So the idea that like plebs like, but he said it's not true though, Richard's like, how many times do we have to go through this? How many times?
I guess with all of the Nip stuff about to come out, I'll talk about something about that actually so far in the investigation. I haven't had time to write it up, but we can talk about it on the podcast because I said it's slow news week. Like me and Adam, like undoubtedly are friends. We're from that Source era where we were just reminiscing about it the other day on Twitter, where this is how LANs used to work. You went to a LAN abroad. It was small. It was held in like a pokey little venue somewhere, like a fucking bowling alley or a fast food restaurant or a warehouse or a barn or a fucking, at best, like an ice hockey rink that was in a dilapidated state. And you would compete for a few €1,000. And when you won, all the community all came round, applauded you because we all knew each other. We all knew we were the fucking... we were the lesser game. 1.6, we would never had the height to 1.6. Our time was CGS, and we all know how that went down. And then literally all those players would take that money and put it behind the bar, and we'd all get fucking wrecked, right? And we did that for years. That's how we just rolled. And as our world started to open up, when we had NA teams. I met Steele when he was in Team Dynamic. When they came over, and there hadn't been NA-EU rivalries, and Dynamic came over, and suddenly they were getting to finals and were playing against Very Games, the team that had dominated for years, and they were giving them a good game. And that was back when they had Legend, and Pex and players like that. Adren, of course, yeah, absolutely. AZK, I think, as well, back when they were the twin, just a double threat. So that was like such a fucking cool time, right? And if you were around at that time, there's like a weird fucking bond there, It's almost like when people get back from the war, you might not fucking see each other. You might never see that guy in your unit ever again, but you think about them, you take out your pictures. God, do you remember that? Remember when we stormed that bunker and we were the only two that made it out? Sources like that. We're all the ones who are around in CSGO now will tell you. MBK will tell you. That was the shit, and it was going on in a blind spot, pre-social media. YouTube hadn't even blown up, no attention, so people could even get a little bit crazier at events. You could go and get completely fucking drunk and fucked up, and nobody would judge you. You'd get a little video on a phone, but there was nowhere to upload it to. So the idea that me and Adam, who have been drinking together for years, right? Like the idea that there was ever any beef there. Like, here's what happened. Nip said we need this story to go away, or at least just to deflect a little bit. So will you play his tweet about it? And in particular, Adam, we'd really like you to do it because you're like the popular name. You're like the guy that like a bit of a fan favorite, a bit culty. But it also doesn't mean we bring Forrest or Get Right into the equation. You're the guy. And yeah, he tweeted and said, the classic hostage tweet. NIP are treating me very well. And you can see, fucking Jihadi John behind him.
I love them very much.
Yeah. I have been getting 3 square meals a day, and I am allowed a girlfriend. Everything
I am saying all of this of my own volition.
Yeah, exactly. I am not saying this because I'm frightened, he messaged me and said, "Yo, dog, I'm fucking sorry about that, man. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I feel a little bit sad." And I said, "Listen, brother, like, there's a fucking game being played. And I play the game, and I know the rules of the game, and I know the position you're in, and I will never, ever, ever, ever judge you for that. We're friends."
It's like this. I'll give you a topic I noticed no one's brought up, but it's an obvious question I, as a journalist, would ask if I didn't know these people, which is my first thought in all of this NIP stuff. I can't believe no one else has thought of this. That's weird. There's a lot of lack of comment or any kind of acknowledgement from Get Right and Forrest at any point in history. They haven't tweeted in support. They haven't mentioned anything. These are people, by the way, who are Get Right's a very, very open guy. He really cares about the community and really cares about players not getting fucked over. And his guy will speak up on things. Forrest is someone who's a very nice guy. As a person, he's a great human being. He's not someone I think who would be complicit in these things. But you know what? They aren't in my position. I can call Nip a bunch of cunts, tell them, do what you want about it, sue me if you want, and I know nothing will happen. Or if it does, they're not in a great spot themselves. Pro players like them who've invested, by the way, at this point in time, half their fucking careers into NIP, and who, as you saw in like some articles recently, like it's intimated, one of the reasons why Get Right, there was that whole story of maybe he'll transition and stay in the squad, is maybe these guys are finally going to be the fucking players who get a little bit of equity. Maybe they can actually be more long-term involved than just, you're done as a player, you're cut. Well, in that kind of a world, I don't know what it's been like for them in NIP, so I can't begrudge them the fact that they want to be like, I thought we'd got past this. Do I have to go again on this? Like, I personally, if I was a player, I'd speak out. I'm kind of a fucked up person in that sense. Like, I don't care about the consequences. I actually am compelled more by the fact that I feel like truth needs to be said and unfairness needs to be crumpled out. But to be fair, if you're Get Right and Forrest, you could also just think to yourself, why does it have to be me? I can see all my ex-teammates are doing it for us. They're going to have revealed everything. I'll just chill in my zone. I didn't have anything to do with it and let it go by.
Yeah, and listen, it gets hard again, right? Because you find, you do your digging, and it's very clear that actually Forrest and Patrick and Chris have shares in NIP. So now, great, right? You think brilliant. Finally, they're gonna get something out of this, and now all this shit's gonna come out, and it's gonna tank the fucking brand. So once again, you end up in this fucking real difficult situation where it's like to get at the bad guys, you cannot do this laser focused precision headshot. Even
like in terrorist scenarios,
you've got to spray into the crowd.
The bad guys always use people that you care about as the fucking human shield. They always do it. Yeah. It's a strategy they use. Like basically, this is something that happened to me with that whole Riot thing where they fucked me over on that like event at the last minute. Now, I actually had someone within Riot who was one of my contacts literally say to me, is there any way you could just like not do a story about this? And I said, listen, mate, I'm really sorry. It's going to hurt you. It might even fuck your career, mate. But that is unfortunately a consequence of you working for an utterly corrupt company that I'm going to expose. And I told him, if you knew how many stories I know did get buried for these exact reasons, I'm sorry, not just for myself, for all of those people, I'm not going to bury this. And listen, that sucks for you. But that's unfortunately, like you're saying, in this scenario, it's like they're almost forcing your hand.
Yeah, and I hate it, dude. I hate it. It's like, you can maybe hope there's a world where, because the brand tanks and they can get more shares for cheaper, and maybe instead of all the lies we were told about Astralis being a player-owned organization, imagine a world where we get rid of all of the fucking dirtbags from NIP and it becomes a real play. The players who built that brand and made it what it is, as they transition into the next stage of their lives as coaches, as managers, maybe just even owners, maybe just retired, philanthropists in esports, they run NIP. But to get there,
story?
Yeah, it'd be a really cool story. But the first chapter of that story is pure AIDS, because it's going to start with the valuation of NIP is going to drop. Sponsors are going to walk away. People are going to leave. It's going to be brutal. Like I tweeted it out. I had to go get a drink. I spent 6 hours, like literally printing stuff out, mapping it. There's a pile of it over there. And I'm trying to get through 7 years of lies and bullshit and nonsense. And it's ridiculous. It's so convoluted. It's people pretending that they left when they didn't. It's people pretending they weren't involved when they were.
This is also, Richard, one thing I want to say as well. This is why I'm not one of these people, by the way, who says you're not a journalist. Because, to be fair, the actual basic requirements to just be called a journalist in a scene like ours, where it was a hobbyist scene, are very, very low. Like, you published, you vaguely try to keep things above board, you try and do things you can. But that pretty much qualifies. But I will say, all journalists are not created equal. Like, the amount of people who want to be called like a serious journalist, and all they do is take hearsay, which some of it's credible, and just do roster reports. That's one thing, cool. That's something in the scene that has a place. But that is a different. We had this conversation when we were in that panel at Invent thing. That is a different gradient of seriousness than the best example I would give is this: when Richard was doing the story about FaZe and about the Tfue contract. He literally sat for a whole week and just read fucking California laws in a real thing, not like a Cliff Notes guide to come, like the real thing. And he had to try and understand all these fucking legal terms and legalese, which, remember, looks like English, but famously is nothing like English, because certain words have completely opposite meanings to like the real meaning, etc. So he sat and did all that. Mate, the amount of journalists who were going to sit and do that is, you can count them on one hand. It's a joke, isn't it?
Let me tell you, I don't recommend it. It was fucking shit.
Oh, it sounds shit. Yeah, of course. That's also, by the way, why if you do real journalism like that, if you get scooped, that's why it's depressing. It's not even that you just didn't get the story. It's like, I put all that fucking work in and this guy's in one before me.
At least I was able to hold my own on that video we did with Bryce and Ryan Morrison. Yes. My favorite bit of that was when I got asked the question, well, what do you mean by that? And I just gave the textbook legal definition. Yeah, they were like...
And then Bryce was sort of like, all right. Correct.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. I'm gonna get to a stage, I think, where maybe I could pass the fucking bar. I'm gonna become a lawyer, and when I hit
no, you'll never be able to pass a bar. You'll always have to start. There we go. There we go.
Be the only bar I would pass.
Unless you do a Del Boy.
Yeah.
Reference from 1998. It's because you have to understand, guys. To me, I started in esports in like 1999 or something when I was about like 16. So to me, it's still a few years ago, all the shit before esports. So I keep thinking like 90s. I wasn't that long ago. And then people are like, sorry, that's 20 plus years ago.
People are still watching Only Fools and Horses, aren't they?
My mistake. And then I get the motherfuckers that are like, I was born in 2002. I'm like, get the fuck away.
So here's the bit of news that relates to the story. I got sent. I've got a lot of sources feeding me stuff on this, and I got wind of the news that So as you probably know, Exertify and NIP are sort of inextricably linked. It's a bit.
Is that how you say that name?
That's how I say it. What do you say?
I've never tried saying it, but I guess it's like extrafy or something. I don't fucking know.
Extrafy? I'm just saying it wrong.
It's like when you know what? I'll give you a little
those
joke
cunts.
Here. This is a real story. When I first rocked up to my first ever CS event, I come in the room and obviously, I was like a young guy. I was a bit nervous. I wasn't the big personality I wasn't the same person as an actual human. I'd gone through a lot of experiences. And I'm talking to one of the Swedish players. And I go, tell you what, Executor's playing fucking great. And they go, excuse me? And I go, Executor, that Norwegian player? They go, no, his name is Executor. because it was written in like all elite speak.
Yeah.
And I just looked like some cunt for coming along saying like executor, like some fucking, again, like some legal term. Like he's like, because I thought executor is a sick name, innit? It's like he's going like, I will execute your wills. I will be the one who decides how you die. And like in the game, you get money for people dying. I thought it was some next level play. It turns out he's just a cunt with elite speak.
So anyway, that company that sponsor NIP, but it's a bit more deep than a sponsorship. On the board was Hitcham Chahine, the NIP CEO, co-owner, shareholder, Dig Life guy. The guy he came into the board back in 2016, which I think is at the time that they sponsored NIP. So make of that what you will. Anyway, on the
I love it when companies are just incestuous as fuck. It's metal, isn't it?
Oh, we haven't even got to the Astralis stuff yet, so let's have some fun with that. I think I can. I'm gonna bring up the picture. Wait there. Right. I think you can probably show this. It should be fine. Where the fuck is it? I can send it to you, Sam.
Oh.
Let me just rename that. Okay. So I'll just send it in the Discord chat, I think.
Yeah.
There it is. So if you look at this is basically proof. It's from one of the many business websites and credit websites out there.
Are those social security numbers there? Is that what the SSN stands for?
Yeah, actually, maybe don't show that.
And lawsuit.
I didn't show it. Don't worry.
Timestamp that.
I'm a professional producer of it.
But anyway, just look at the end date on that motherfucker.
I mean, this is publicly available information, though.
Yeah.
Even Per Lilith was gone in 2016. This concept, it literally.
Well, anyway, as you guys can see.
I'll show. Shall I show it with, or shall I hide those? Do you think?
Nah. Let's leave it to. I don't know what fucking Twitch TOS is these days. Does anyone? But anyway, as you guys can
women,
see,
so as a result, you got to play it safe, Rich. I'll get my tits
all right.
Off.
Squad W over there. Straight squad W and
I'll piss in some water and have one of the viewers drink it if it'll help the cause.
Yeah, good on you. Anyway, you can see the date. Hitcham Chahine has left the board as of the 28th of July.
And by the way, unless you took this today, that was only fucking like 4 days ago.
Yeah, and so what my sources are telling me is that because of the impending negative publicity and indeed the existing negative publicity, it was basically mutually agreed that Hitcham had to depart the Extrafy board, right?
Here's the joke, by the way. The joke goes like this. Snopes.com. Richard Lewis claims Hitcham, whatever, was a part of Extrafy. Incorrect. He actually left 3 days ago.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, get wrecked like that. Right?
The classic.
So this is interesting because if Hitcham has publicly said he'd love to fucking rap with all the staff that have had problems and bring it to him and all of this. I think we're rapidly heading towards an environment where he is going to be Mr. Scapegoat. And perhaps not without cause, based on what I've been researching, I made a tweet about it. Here's the worst part about this guy. So Hitcham has unquestionably presided over some of these abuses towards the NIP players. He's undoubtedly been involved. He's also undoubtedly told lies, which I've already proven. I did a live stream where I literally showed documents where he had lied. He said, "Oh, I was nothing to do. That was the old NIP management. I wasn't there." And then so I went and got their documents from 2014 where he's listed as an owner. He's saying, "Oh, that was the old management, the 2014 guys. In 2016, things changed." You were there, motherfucker. So what are you talking about? So I did a tweet, and again, I'll give you the tweet so you can see for yourself what I said. He's on the board at WISA.
Classic. Oh, yeah. He's like one of the head people, isn't he?
Yes. Now, for those who don't remember what WISA is, because it all went quiet over there, halt die Klappe, right? They are meant to be a board for helping, players, right? I mean, we all know it was bullshit from the start.
Sure.
But this is where it becomes a problem. If you remember, WISA was going to act as an arbitrator. They were talking about being an arbitrator for player disputes between organizations. I got people telling me that when they were having problems with NIP getting their money, Hitchin was saying, "Oh, we will bring this to WISA." You're on the motherfucking board. What's that? What's that? How does that work? In what world would that work? So this is a big problem. And I cannot believe that WISA haven't done what XtraFi have done. He cannot hold his position on the WISA board being involved in the things he's involved in.
Sure.
He cannot. It is untenable. This is meant to be something that benefits the players and the teams that enter into the WISA agreement. It is meant to be a body to help players and help grow esports. You cannot have people treating their players this way, be steering that ship. Why have they not said anything? Why? Well, we know why. There is a real incestuous combination of money.
Have you ever noticed, Rich? People don't mind
in Europe
throwing me and you under the bus when we do the most minor infractions imaginable. Things that, as I pointed out in the past, are not even illegal. Like, they wouldn't even be tried in court of law. But the amount of times, kind of like I was saying about Riot with the pro players, the amount of times big business won't out someone they know who themselves has done literal crimes and illegal shit, they'll still wait till the last possible minute to like disavow that person. It's funny how that standard never gets the same, because obviously to fans, they don't know who the fuck any of these people are. They don't even know what WISA is. So to them, it's not a non-story. I also love, by the way, this is another one of those signs. I've often said on this show, the two people, they have similar names, which is kind of helpful. The two people who, if you ever fuck with an esports, I'll destroy you, because I know that means you're pure evil, is DK, the journalist, and DDK in a similar vein. Now, listen, Fiflarin is a lot more of a fucking player than those guys. He's got a lot more sort of like, he'll make a joke behind the scenes that's not like super PC. He's a bit more of a lad. I will say, it's funny enough, the idea that they're all fucking with him. His name in Swedish means like gambler or something. Like, I'd maybe think through what people pick as their names. But anyway, in this scenario, right, he's another guy where publicly he's not put many foot wrong. He's not a guy who wades into drama. As you see, he waited years to out the nip stuff until he really felt it was weighing on his conscience. So I love the way that Heitcham guy was trying to take like the high road. Like, we will, of course, be sorting this out, and we have paid the players. And then Fiflarin just got more and more progressively mad until eventually there was that tweet that was just like, pay the players and resign. It's like, fucking hell, shut it down. Like, holy shit.
No, but you have to understand as well the frustration that's built up. I mean, look, dudes, all the ex-NIP players are gonna come back and put their fucking 2 cents in. You'll hear from Exist, you'll hear from Freiburg, because the ball's rolling now, and it's like I said, even Anders, gentle, demented, drug-addled Anders, aka me, has said, yes, man, I think me and Richard should have a chat.
He's already had that chat, of course, via the astral dimension.
He's had that chat.
already told you
the problem with Anders
in the astral realm.
I love Anders, but I have often thought he reminds me of in movies where there's like a ruler who's been in power for years, and he's just completely gone off into like a back room of luxury and palaces and all sorts of shit, and then he has no idea what's going on in the real world, what the people are doing. All the corrupt people are running shit around him, and he just comes out every now and then. What are they doing with the festival this year? Like, he's just on some level of that sort of shit, and we're all just like pretending like this is fine. This is all fine.
Listen, Anders is a guy who's let so much shit slide down the years. People saying outrageous shit about him, people gunning for his career, people like literally making plays to try and get him fucking removed from events and be
his
the ones
problem,
that go
mate, is
there.
he has the opposite to what I described earlier. So I didn't make it sound like a heroic quality, by the way, because half of it is kind of like a have to do it. It's a compulsion. But like to me, I'm someone where if you tell me, by the way, I'm going to fuck you over now, but if you don't speak about it, I'll fuck you over 80% less. I'll say twice as much as you can. Like that's just unfortunately my personality. It's who I am. Anders and a lot of other people in the esports scene, they're the opposite. They're the sort of people who are like, why? Like, I've seen this happen so many times, mate. Someone gets fucked, and then you go, right, well, you're surely going to go live with this. And they go, no, because then I could get fucked more. And you go, that's such a weird mentality. I would never think that way. But fair play. If you're just not that kind of person, I have to say, you have to be fucking built for war if you want to do the approach I'm taking. Like, you don't want to do that as a nice guy and then have people just come 24/7 after you. It ain't going to be a good look.
Yeah, and like I say, I mean, you know, the Nip TV stuff, like, you have to understand, like, this brand was built on bullshit and lies and fucking people over. That's
one thing people forget, unfortunately, is one of the reasons Anders has never actually spoken out about Nip is what you have to understand is in the early days when he was Nip TV, they were massive. They literally, before all the big streaming stuff, they were the streaming source. And the problem is Anders, as far as I know, owned none of it. And basically, I think only even had like a verbal agreement or something mad like that. Yeah. So as a result, they basically held it over him forever. Like, we could take all this away from you. We could take everything. We could just delete everything. You'll have nothing in this community. And so that's the sort of thing where, like, you're just going to bury that in your mind. You're going to think, well, that's just off limits, and I can never speak about that team. Who knows what the fuck they'll do?
I mean, not even just that, right? Not even just that. The, you know, like when it came time to part ways because Anders was going to go on to bigger and better things, it's like he built that fucking YouTube channel up.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, it's not yours. It's all your content, but you've used the Nip TV name, so you don't get to keep any of it. Basically, you know, was the product of Anders and Semler, and it was Anders originally that was kind of like doing more of the organizational side, because you know, and it was really starting to impact on his marriage and you know everything else. Because when you work hard and you can't fit it all in, so you neglect your partners invariably. His wife was super supportive, by the way; she's great. So. You know, when it came to separate the ways, Anders was just like, listen, can I just have the fucking channel? Like, can I just have the channel I built? Can you just not, you know, I don't want any money. I don't, you know, I just want to be able to have what I built. And, you know, along the way, they broke loads of promises. And it's never been talked about how that, you know, and again, to fuck Anders to get your brand built up. It's like you say, there are people... Wherever you fuck with them, you must be evil.
I know.
And yeah, Mr. P. Heed. But Anders is another one. He doesn't even know what's going on half the time, does he? Mate, the other day, he was tripping. I did gotcha nose. It blew his mind.
He's still looking.
He's still looking for it. Yeah, he's still looking. He's the man, I'll never get my nose back. Like, it's fucking...
You have to understand, Anders is one of these people who goes like, and what about on Tuesday? And you go, but Anders, it is Tuesday. And he goes, oh... And then just walks off and starts doing something, you know. Not really. We've made a ridiculous caricature on this show.
No, none of this is true.
You love it.
We made him like some sort of mad, like fucking powdered hurts.
Yeah, he's like Dennis Hopper in fucking Apocalypse Now, isn't he? Was he a kind man? Was he a wise man? Like, just improvising all of his lines, like just out of his fucking mind. Anders isn't like that, but he is now, so whatever.
He is for the sake of this.
He is for the sake of this show. Exactly. It's a character he's playing. We're all characters. That's how it works. So anyway, so you know, that's bullshit. There's just so much to come out. That's like year one of the NIP story.
Exactly,
you know?
Yeah.
You know, so this is what I'm saying. If people think it's going to get published anytime soon, guys, like you're going to have to wait for the good stuff. This is like, it's got to get done right. you know, it's like Aliens. You got to nuke it from space. It's the only way to be sure. So I'm involved in everything. But I just thought it was interesting that clearly Extrafy or Exertify or Extra have already sort of made moves to insulate themselves with Hitchum departing the board, seemingly based on the latest available credit information. So, right. Now while we're talking about fucked up bullshit, Refresh. Because it wouldn't be an episode of By the Numbers.
You have to get that in at the end. You know, we tricked you all into thinking there's nothing here from all that League of Legends shit, but straight Refresh.
Yeah, straight Refresh. And
what have they been doing?
Well, listen, so they announced today that they have agreed to officially sell Astralis for an undisclosed fee. Now, a report from TV2 Sport, which is like a Danish sports website, as the name implies, they say the deal's going to be worth 10 to 15 million euros. That's like approximately 11 to 16 million dollars. And then what's going to happen is Nicola Nyholm is going to leave Refresh Entertainment as the CEO.
Get ready for the punchline.
And get ready for the roughneck sound. And then Jakob Lund Christensen, who was also one of the co-founder, famously of Copenhagen Wolves, he's going to leave as well. And they're going to go over to this new company that they formed back in October 2018. It was originally called This is what's hilarious about it, by the way, because I was looking into this because they just released their annual reports. And you may remember I said I was going to melt some faces off. So I was already looking in their financial reports. Yeah, it was already TSA in the fuck out with them. And they changed the name of the company. So it was originally called
Refresh.
No. It was literally, okay. So you've got Astralis and you've got Refresh, but in October 2018, they founded a new company called Refresh Teams, and they've now said this has nothing to do with Refresh. We're changing the name to Astralis Group APS, and that's where Origin and Astralis is going to preside. And Nicola Nyholm says we're going to completely extricate ourselves from Refresh, and we're going to completely move over there and run Astralis groups, i.e. the teams. And there's going to be no ties. First of all, I'll just get your reaction to that, Duncan, because that's part one of the story.
Right, first of all, when people have lied as repeatedly, even about provable facts, as Refresh and Nicola Nyholm have, when they tell me explicitly, by the way, I'd just like to state, I will not be involved in this in any way. It's like, let's think through what you might be doing. What's that Pokemon card, Nicola Nyholm? Your ability is having a lie. Oh, you've done it again, haven't you? You've had a little lie, haven't you? Passive, doubling down, not so.
Not super effective either.
Exactly.
That's the worst part, yeah. Just
I'm not confused.
Like a magic card.
Exactly.
So what do you make of the sale?
First of all, I love the idea, Richard. This is a part that you've missed the nuance of as well.
Okay.
After they already claimed that they've sold off all the teams except Astralis, they make a company called Refresh Teams. Why is there an S on that? Why is there an S? If that's Refresh Team, great placeholder name to one day change to a company. Refresh Teams, call me crazy. I don't think you tripped over and pressed the S on the keyboard. I think you had teams in mind when you made that company.
Yeah, yes, and that's why Origin will be there, Astralis will be there. I think they are looking to get rid of Heroic, but and I don't think that's going to go over there. But it might be that they decide to make other franchises or brands in the future. Certainly, Nicola Nyholm's going to go where the money is. But so here's a second part of the story. So they've released their complete financial records, right? Because this is the beautiful thing
you have to
about Denmark, I think, right? About Denmark. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to give you
By the
all
way,
you
as
guys...
an aside, I'll just say, that's one of those things I also love about fucking morons, is they will argue provable facts. Like, you know how many times people on Reddit have told me the same NPC talking point? No, Thorin, they gave back the money that they were given by the government. It's like, no, that was the second amount, you dumb fuck. There is a literal record from 2017 that shows they received, I forget what the amount is, it was a lot though, in like tax money from the government, basically, as like a grant or some shit. Like, that is provable. It's in the records. You cannot deny it. You cannot tell me it's not what you can. You just be a cunt if you do.
So here's what I'm going to do, right? Because, at the end of V for Vendetta, right? The movie, unfortunately. Well, and in the books. Nowhere near as good as the books. It's terrible. It's terrible. And it was the first sort of Dark Knight, wasn't it? It was V for Vendetta memes before it was Joker memes. We truly do live in a society. But anyway, so at the end where they all rock up and they're all wearing the Guy Fawkes masks, right?
Terrible addition to the movie, but whatever, yeah.
Yes, terrible addition, absolutely. But it's the movie's like iconic moment.
Yeah.
Gamers rise up, whatever, incels rise up, right? So anyway, We're going to do that right now. I'm going to give you your very own V for Vendetta mask, kids. Because we need to monitor these fuckers, right? And old Uncle Richie might not be around much longer because he said mean things about a certain country. So let's make sure everybody watching the show right now knows how to keep tabs on Nicola Nyholm's lies and Refresh's bullshit, okay? I don't know why other journalists aren't doing this, but I'm going to give you... Wait, I've got to do the Bane voice, haven't I? You, the people. Right? I'm going to give you, the people, the power to monitor this shit forever, right? You're going to go to a website called virk.dk. VIRK.dk. Right? And you can search for any company's name, right, in that operates in Denmark. So you can type in Refresh, and you can type in Astralis, and you can type in Astralis Teams, or whatever the fuck it's called, Astralis Group. And you will have access to all of their articles of incorporation. An article of incorporation is where you get to see who owns what, who has shares, where the money's coming from. And every year, they got to put their financial records out and say what they're doing, right? And if you do this, here's what you'll find. Last year, and I don't know how serious this is, but it's interesting, isn't it, that we're talking about how Refresh and Astralis are going to have this complete separation. Here's what you'll find. They've deliberately announced this in line with the annual reports, so we might not know if they were lying until a year from now, but we will know. We will know. So here's what they did. In 2018, Refresh, which are totally separate from Astralis, remember, they loaned them close to €1 million. That is an ongoing debt at the company. So it's similar in a way to the G2 Fnatic situation I exposed, where there's this ongoing loan. So the board of Refresh have agreed to give a capital loan of €928,175,085 it converts out as. So that'll be ongoing. That'll be ongoing, right? So the idea that they're completely separated doesn't really ring true. Then, and this is the other important part, Nicola Nyholm is on the books at Refresh twice. Okay. He is the beneficial owner with like a 30% of share capital. Right? But you have he's under the name Beatnik APS, which is obviously like one of his many companies he's involved in. That's the company you have to pay attention to. Because if we're going to find out whether or not Nicola Nyholm completely extricated himself, it's very easy to follow Jakob Lund Christensen's involvement. He's on JLK Holding APS, right? Nicola Nyholm uses the company Beatnik. Watch that company. Because I do not believe that with all these financial ties, I don't believe for a second Nicola Nyholm is going to have nothing to do with Refresh. Not while they're planning expanding on their events. Not when they're planning a league that we know from the leaked email I published. So I'm going to monitor making sure that they absolutely follow through on this. But I will not believe it. I think there's something incredibly, not Machiavellian, because it's never going to be that clever. But the reality is that the financial particulars here still place Astralis and Origin being inextricably linked to Refresh. If you have an outstanding debt to a company, that company has potential control over you. That's
like,
just
for people who don't know.
That's just how it is.
As he was implying, the famous problem with the Fnatic G2 situation was that if Fnatic couldn't repay the debt, they don't just go, sorry, mate, all out of money. The clause was that they actually would have had to give ownership to G2, and then that guy would have owned two teams. So in this scenario here, again, what do you imagine happens if one company doesn't pay the other one? That's a very clever way to actually not own a company, but in the future own a company anytime you motherfucking feel like it.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that's what's going on here. For all I know, part of this deal might be that the purchase agreement includes an amount to settle that debt. We don't know the particulars of the agreement, so it might be nothing. But this is a company that have tried to deceive the community, who think all of you, for bringing valid conflict of interest concerns, are trolls. They have said they're going to work with media to basically try and obfuscate all of the ties and lie to you. They've openly said that in this email. So I am telling you all, this is when they say follow the money. That's how you follow the money. Very easy for these guys. It's how I've been able to nail all of their lies every time. Because in Denmark, you cannot hide your shit. Not as cleverly. You've got to have shell companies. Well, if I know the name of the shell company, I just go and look up the particulars of the shell company. So maybe it's a year from now.
It makes you realize how naive the fucking Nordics are, aren't they? Like, listen, even their version of bad guys just aren't as scary because you're just too nice. Even your version of massive cunts aren't actually as bad as the biggest cunts in the world. Because, like, could you imagine if in the USA could just look up every single like detail of a company like this? It would just never function. Society could not run that way. The whole of society would collapse tomorrow.
So, like I say, I'm telling everybody that I don't know if anything untoward is going on, but I do not believe Nicola Nyholm will walk away from the lucrative opportunities that Refresh will afford him in its entirety, because that's why he's here. He's here to make money. He was here to make money when he wanted to try and monetize a player union. He was here to make money when he reached out to top players in the scene, was bringing them out to like rooftop bars in his VC company and having meetings with them in secret to basically have them create franchises in a hermetically sealed league that went on to be the Blast Pro Series in a much greatly alterated form. This is a guy who has lied about multiple team ownership. This is a guy that has lied about, the Astralis being it's a player-owned organization, guys. It's a player-owned organization. They're the people running it, not me, not the VC guy who is only here to make money. That's the guy you watch. Beatnik APS. Watch that company. And I'll have more on that story when I get time to sit down and plow through more Danish fucking financial documents, which are a delight to read. But for now, you do it, you cunts. You shoulder some of this legwork. I'm tired. Bell ends. Right. I think that's all the stories. There was a couple of roster moves, if you give a fuck, Duncan. Fitch is fine. Yeah, just do it next time. Thoughts up. Fitch is finally out of the Vanguard.
Fitch, I was out already.
Yeah. I'm out that.
Not enough to interest
and obviously, Accurate has officially left Tyloo. I mean, it's not a big deal. Whatever. There we mentioned him. Let's do the questions. Right, let's have a look what we got from our patrons. Reykjavik on Steam says, with Richard's favorite Australian team making it through the major again, this is ground. Will the dick jokes ever be funny? Are they always going to be shit? Now remember, there is a world of difference. If Dick Stacey wants to do a personal stream and tell edgy jokes like we do, that's your brand. No one has an issue with that. What I will say and what I'll maintain, if you're trying to sneak a drawing of a penis into an in-game cosmetic item, and because you think that's funny or something, I don't. I don't share that view, and I don't think it's necessarily good for the direction or the health of the esport. And if during a tournament interview you can't keep your shit together to just not say you're going to suck a teammate's dick. By the way, increasingly, we are entering into a time where the phrase "suck my dick" is considered homophobic. I don't know why, because I know gay guys, they like having their dick sucked. So just putting that out there, by the way. I'm a straight guy. Bye, guy. I like
the way you said that sounded ridiculous. Like, I know some gay guys who love having their dick sucked.
Yeah, I know. Like,
sometimes,
it's weird, right?
I'm expecting them like, get off, and I'm like, fucking give it.
I know it's mental, right? But the problem is we're moving into a time where if you say anything like "fucking hell,"
mate, I tell you what. Listen, everyone knows. Like, one of the main reasons me and you've got in trouble over the years is because we're from Britain and we had to learn our sense of humor is very different culturally from Americans, and Americans rule the world. Tell you what, the Aussies are the next, mate. They just weren't big enough in esports in the past to realize their sense of humor. I mean, for a start off, how often pro players in Australia are dropping cunt like publicly. That ain't gonna fly for long. I'm not making the rules. I'm telling you, the Americans are.
No, and this is the thing. Like, in an ideal world, understand this isn't about my value system, because I don't give a fuck about it. Like, you know what I mean? But the problem you've got is, right, you're at an ESL event. ESL is sponsored by Intel. Intel have dropped millions into diversity programs and supporting stuff like Feminist Frequency with Anita Sarkeesian, and also as well, ESL are partnered with AnyKey. AnyKey is an organization that is designed to fight any exclusionary behaviors and prejudices in gaming and esports. All it takes is one complaint about you saying, suck my dick, mate, wee, and that's it. You're labeled as a homophobe, and you will be broken on the wheels of the machine to appease all of the people. Context will not save you. Your cultural reference of humor will not save you. The fact it was a teammate will not save you. The fact that it's banter will not save you. It will not save you. I know. Duncan knows. These things will not save you, and you will end up getting fucking banned from competing at those tournaments. You will pay a penalty. You will pay a price. So think about the brand you're cultivating. Think about if it's worth having the fucking clip on Reddit and the attention. Weigh it all up. And when you can't do it because you're an attention-seeking little twat semi-pro player who realizes this is it, this is the peak, I told you so.
I'll just throw in there. If you, listen, I don't personally know Dick Stacey, and quite frankly, I don't watch his team play, and I don't watch low-level tournaments, so I've actually not seen that much of him myself. I've seen a few clips that were on Reddit. I'll just say this. If you are someone who has any sort of charisma, any sort of a marketable personality, just drop the dick part and just go with being funny. If you're the funny Australian guy, that already is a pretty good brand. Like, a load of the Australians in Renegades are super fucking quiet. No one's ever even heard fucking JKS talk.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we live in a time where right now there's discussion about whether butt hurt, ass pained. Again, fast forward 1 year, it's not getting any more sensible. Saying that on a Twitch stream 1 year from now is a ban. Might even be a ban now. See in 30 days. Who fucking knows? The point, none of those terms are homophobic. Of course they're not. But it will be span, and there will be one person who is willing to have the spotlight shone on them. I love that
as well, by the way.
You know, like that cunt people from Vox.
Like, why do people themselves pivot on their principles? So if you get banned from Reddit, well, rules are rules, mate. Break the rules, you get the punishment. If something they don't like happens, this is unfair. But it isn't homophobic. That's irrelevant, mate. We're telling you in this scenario, we aren't the ones enforcing the rules. It's just other people will.
Exactly. So, you know, I think the dick jokes, like, there's a potential there to be funny, but all it takes is, you know, for example, right, let's say you sneak your dick in onto the sticker. Let's say you do it. Let's say you come up with a super clever way to draw a penis, and Valve are so dumb they don't notice it, and then it's being sold. And then a 13-year-old kid in Iowa buys a Dick Stacey sticker because, hey, it's got a dick on it. And then their fucking parents see it, and they're like, why is this filth in my game? And it turns out their parents write to a politician, and then the politician gets up in arms about it, and then Valve have to remove the sticker right in the middle of the time when you should be making peak sticker sales. Actually a realistic scenario, by the way. So you just fuck yourself, and you bring down a bunch of negative attention to the game. This is the point. I get it. You're the guy on stage. You want attention, right? You want to put yourself at the center of it. I'm a big picture guy because I've got a brain that's slightly bigger than a pea. So I'm looking at the whole scene holistically.
No offense to you, kid.
Mr. P Heat. Mr. P.
I know. The saddest thing is, the EDK actually has done nothing. He's never done it. He's never said
just straight wrecking him.
He's just, you know, don't want him to get a big head, do I? Whatever. Just fucking end this episode. There's some more questions in this. Get reading.
Yeah. We're piling through. How does this current this is but Pounder 420. How does this current liquid
one day that will be homophobic to be called that? But,
no, it's already done. And again, pounding butts pretty good. How does this current liquid run stack up in the history? It's
so recent.
What? That's not even homophobic. Again, why is that homophobic?
It doesn't need to be said.
Telling you, just letting you know what time it is. All right, how does this current liquid run stack up in the history of dominant runs in CSGO? That's clearly a Thorin question. He loves you.
It's a mask.
But Pounder's only here for you, obviously.
The one problem I'll say about this is, like, this is the sort of stuff I can do with my work, but on the spot, I can't, like, compose what would be the equivalent of, like, a 5,000-word article. So off the top of my head, I would probably say, bearing in mind, yeah, they had the scenario where at the first couple of tournaments, some teams skipped events. I think the rest of the run was pretty legit, and I think the stats are fucking amazing. Like, the amount of series they've won, maps they've won is very, very impressive. So I'd put it up there. Right now, I'd probably say it maybe sits at, like, let's say number 4 or number 3. I'd still put things like Astralis probably number 1, Fnatic number 2. I'd say they're starting to get in competition for that. To be fair, those teams did win majors though, so that's one of the things that at the moment probably holds them back from fully legitimate. Put it this way: if they win the major, we can have a very interesting discussion about that, because you add a major to all those stats, then it becomes like they can vie for the top spot.
Rim job ball tickle asks no. Mike Feed Me asks, with all that is coming out at the moment and has come out in the past around they also feel good, by the way, in the past around orgs and their dealings with players not being particularly favorable, why don't we see more player-owned organizations like when Astralis was formed? I think we've established by now that's a lie that you've clearly fallen for, Mr. Mike Feed Me. Is there a barrier to entry financially, or is it some other reason? I mean, you have to understand, right? When you create teams, you create a team, you don't have a brand, because it's a brand new thing, right? So NIP had a bit of a head start in the sense that it was an old one that was brought back, so it had nostalgia. If you ever want to know why Immortals paid over the odds for MIPR, that's why, because there is a value in nostalgia. But what you do is when you start a team, you have effectively nothing except a lot of expenses right at the start. That's how it works. So no player is going to sign up for that, right? Because players want to make their cheddar, concentrate on playing.
They want
games.
the top salary now. That's the problem.
Exactly. They don't want to say, well, I'll not have a salary, but this is my brand, and I'll go out and I'll get sponsorships. Because while you're doing that, you're potentially leaving a $20,000 a month salary on the table by playing for another team. So, and the other thing is as well, usually organizations are started by businessmen. In a lot of instances in esports, failed businessmen. We've now entered an era where it's not failed businessmen. We've now entered an era where it's just VC guys, because this is the favorable gamble right now to them esports. Remember, it's a known fact that even the best VC firms fail to make a return in 90% of their investments. It's just that the ones that succeed are so huge and over the top, it completely offsets the losses. That's how it works. So this is just a favorable gamble for them. So they put a bunch of money in. And then it's like, well, they want to decide where the money goes and make decisions. They're not qualified. The players would probably be better qualified, actually, knowing the industry. But they want to call the shots. So then what you have to do is, as a player, if you exist in that, you have to ask for equity. Now, equity, they can just fucking give you the old razzle-dazzle, because nobody really knows what equity is. So you get shares, and then is it this, and is it that, and there's all different types of shares.
There's also very complicated aspects, like, do your shares get diluted? Do your shares have any power in the company? Like, if you're a pleb, it's so easy to get tricked on that shit. Because remember, what makes these businessmen clever is these are businessmen who know they're going to flip the company in like 5 years. So their whole plan from day one is give as little equity away and get all the equity at the end on the way out, when it's max value in their mind for where esports will be. I'll also just throw in as an aside, that just shows how full of shit pro CSGO players are that they ever believed this game would be around long term. Because the number of those guys who, if they had at the time of the Astralis deal, if many of the teams out there had gone to some of the big orgs who wanted into the game, or VC people who wanted into the game, and said to them, I'll come, I'll make a top 10 team for you, give me a small amount of equity, okay, not as big a salary because I'm taking equity, give me maybe half as much salary and we'll do something. Many of these players could have had these deals by now. And many of them, who are now going to, by the way, be cut and end their careers in 1 or 2 years, will end their careers with sweet fuck all in the bank, where they really could have literally cashed out for millions.
Yeah, exactly.
So sadly, naivety of the industry means it won't happen.
Yeah, so it's not so much a barrier to entry. It's just that you would probably need the upfront capital. Players don't save; they buy watches and cars. It's like the NBA. It's like they're not putting the money in a trust. There's not a lot of them that are going to get to the end of the playing careers. They might have bought a house, bought a car, whatever, but that's about it. That's in the meantime, it's fucking Make it rain.
Yeah, for people who don't know, CSGO players are the type of person who makes $15,000 a month, and yet in the second month of making the $15,000 has already bought an $8,000 watch. That's a CSGO player for you.
Yeah,
like they don't understand anything about business.
Yeah. Not true to all of them, but that's about 95%.
A lot of them.
Watch Doge says, follow up to a question from last week. What traits specifically did each great team have that made them so great across the four? Astralis, MIBR, NIP, Liquid. So for me, NIP is the easiest one to quantify. It was just simply that they were the ones that fully committed to CSGO before everyone else. So they were like the pioneers. They were the first. They had the security. They didn't need to worry because initially they were the ones getting the salaries compared to anyone else. We all know how the story ends, but objectively at the start, the players felt secure. They could put the time in. They didn't have to worry. So it was just preparation. It was just preparation. They were just better prepared than any other team they came up against. And whoever that second team was, they were doing it, but with less resources, with less security. So it was unsustainable. This is why if you go through the NIP era, there isn't it's Very Games, and then it's like Western Wolves, and then the villain to NIP fans always changes like every season. It's just how it goes because it was unsustainable for a long period of time. Remember, back in that era, RPK even quit and left Very Games, and that he's got a big wilderness period because he went to help his father's mechanic business. So people were being pressured to walk away in 2012, 2013 because they weren't making any money. And meanwhile, NIP, they didn't have to worry about that so much. They had to worry about it much, much later, Then for MIBR, the Brazilians, will start with Luminosity. There just hadn't been a team sort of assembled like that in CSGO, in the sense that it was just a power team. It was just ridiculous. It was like, Duncan always uses the example of the, classic Lakers lineup where they just found a player in the form of coldzera who was a phenom. Fallen was already brilliant, was a great in-game leader. All the people on that roster were contributing really, really well in their roles. So you had a little bit of everything going on there. Every time a Fallen strat would kind of like fall down, coldzera could bail them out. So I guess you would quantify that as like the X factor, right? That's what they had. They just, it was like watching Manchester United. You need a 95th minute fucking wonder goal to win the league. Cantona's got you covered, there was always something that they could pull out at the most desperate moments. And you think about some of the series they had, think about that triple kill from Cold with the AWP and to win a must-win round, fuck over Team Liquid, all of the little iconic moments that storied team had. It's just all about the X factor. Yeah, they had tactics, yeah, they had firepower, but they had something else that couldn't really be quantified. Astralis is the machine, the system, the first one to take, under Glaive, like to take phenomenally talented players, but just look for every margin. You've got Zonic every day looking at every angle to maximize every smoke by a millisecond. Flashbangs to get the most coverage so they blind the most people. If you go watch how they did their coaching thing, like it's insane. And they were just precision timing. They were just a well-oiled machine. And sure, you've got Device, you've got Dupree, but the one thing you'll always notice about Astralis is the top form player rotated out all of the time. Sometimes it was Zipnik, sometimes it was Dupree, sometimes it was Device, sometimes it was even Glaive. It just rotated all the time. When they added Magisk, I mean, forget about it. It kicked it up a notch. But the precision machinery never broke down, never changed. It didn't matter who had the form. It was the fundamentals. It was the foundations that got them through. And then Liquid is just raw talent. This is what FaZe wanted to be. You've just took 5 unreal, individually talented players. The tactics aren't even anything special, but you try stopping them. Right, don't worry, guys. We've killed the Liege. Who's coming around the corner now? Fucking hell, it's Twists. Right, we got him. Fucking hell, Stewie's just killed 3 of us. Right, don't worry. We've got it down to Nitro. Oh, what's that? He's god tier at clutching now. Like, what do you do with that team? This is the most individually talented team in terms of just like raw ability we've ever had in CSGO.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Right, we can leave it there unless Duncan has anything to add. Nothing.
No, that's all right.
Just get out, go have a drink, whatever. And of course, as well, shout out to all the patrons that continue to support us. Our $100 patrons, Jerky's Minion, Detlef Insomniac, and Rekovic on Steam. Our $50 patrons, Sard Sawar, Butt Pounder 420, Watch Doge, Madsen, Benakagi Assassin, Mike Feed Me, Marcus Kyumpar, Tobias Bernasconi, Carve, and TC Owens. That was By the Numbers. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who subscribed, donated, all that stuff. And we will see you next week.